Hey, what's up, guys? So, no pre-recorded intro for this episode because this one's a little bit different, and I feel like it deserves an introduction of its own. Bridget Lang is an artist who I discovered on Instagram probably about a year ago or so. Very, very interesting work. You should check it out. It's kind of hard to describe someone's art, right? I mean, it's kind of a weird thing, but it's phenomenal, and I love it. It pops. It's very, very, very unique, very interesting. It's very her, and I wanted to get her on the show. I wanted to talk with her for a long time, but I could never muscle up the courage to slide into the DMs, as I think I said on the episode. But I did it, man. She came on the show, and she was delightful, absolutely lovely, and we had a fantastic time. So I just want to let you guys know this is a fun episode. This is a really good time. And I feel like I have to say that because it's not a music episode. Almost every single episode of the show that we've ever done is about a band or a musician or whatever. And I really feel like her art is phenomenal and it deserves as much attention as I or anybody can possibly give it. So without further ado, please enjoy Bridget Lang. Oh my God. Okay. So Bridget Lang, hello.
Hello.
I'm happy you're here.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited ever since I think you just popped up. I was going through Instagram and you just popped up on my when you hit search and you see all the
the explore page.
Yeah, the explore page.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
that's exciting. I'm always excited to hear that, or when people find me through hashtags, because I always think it's kind of, sometimes I feel like it's useless to post the hashtags, but then when people are like, oh, I found you through that, I'm like, cool, all right, it's
definitely
for something,
Yeah, I've definitely noticed that I get way more attention on the posts that I just do tons of hashtags on.
Totally, yeah, it makes a difference. I feel like even sometimes I'll just even put the hashtag whip, and it that one for some reason a lot of people look at, so I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah, I need
something.
I made a note the other day that I need to just before I post anything, I just need to see what the top trending hashtags are for that week or whatever. There's got to be a website service.
How do you do that? Yeah.
I feel like if you just Google top hashtags, there's got to be a site that monitors that.
Yeah,
right?
You're probably right. I would feel like it. I mean, you can get apps and stuff to see who's unfollowed you.
I know.
There's got to be something out there like that, I feel like. But
so before we get into anything, I want to talk about this because I tried to talk about this with my girlfriend, but she doesn't know the movies very well, and you're the first person I've come into contact with since learning this information. So I'm gonna talk to you about it.
Uh-oh.
Bill and Ted 3.
I'll see if I know. Bill and Ted 3
is happening.
I think Craig briefly mentioned that recently. I don't know how I feel about it.
I don't either.
I'm like, usually when something comes back after that long, it's usually not good, you know? But it's there's a chance if it's all the same people.
I'm surprised that it's happening at all because Alex Winter is a documentarian now.
Yeah.
And he's tried to distance himself from it, I guess.
Yeah, it is strange, I feel like. And like I say, it's strange to do it after so long, I feel like. When there's such a huge gap, I don't know if it can really live up to the old, I don't know, the original, I guess you could say.
Because now it's going to be John Wick.
Yeah. I don't know how to feel.
Yeah, at first I thought it was a joke. I didn't think it was really going to be happening. And
right.
then I did some Googling, and every single source was confirmed.
Saying,
They've signed on.
Weird.
So,
yeah, I don't know how I feel.
But I saw a Beetlejuice 2 trailer today that looked really good.
Does it look good?
Yeah, it was a teaser.
Okay, because Craig told me about that. He finds all the stuff. I'm not actually very internet savvy, so he finds everything. And he told me, that was supposed to be coming out at some point, which I also don't know how I feel about it. But if you're saying the trailer is good,
it was interesting. I mean, it's a teaser, so who knows really how good it's going to be. But
that's true.
From the few things that it showed, it does look pretty intense.
Okay.
So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
But I mean, if no Alec Baldwin, I don't know if I'm going to be super into it because I love Alec Baldwin.
Do you? He
so
creeps
much.
me out.
Oh, totally.
He creeps me out so bad. I liked him in Beetlejuice, and past that point, I'm like, oh my God, Alec Baldwin's in this. I'm like, I can't even look. He freaks me out for some reason.
He had this. He did. I think he did that to a lot of people for a long time. Pretty much all throughout the 2000s. I feel like he did that to everybody.
I can agree. Yeah.
But I love him in Beetlejuice, and I love him in Glengarry Glen Ross so much, and I just but now he's in he just does voiceovers for everything, and it's just not very great. But down there somewhere beneath all of the narcissism, there's a really good actor.
I I think for me it was the SNL skit with Adam Sandler. Have you seen that? Where Adam Sandler is I think he's a Boy Scout, and they're like on this kind of like retreat trip or whatever. And Alec Baldwin is so fucking gross in it. Like, he is so gross. Like, and after that, I was like, it just seems, yeah, maybe you could say he's a good actor, or it just comes with such ease because it seems too real. So it's like, I don't know how I feel about him.
That's how I feel about Joe Pesci.
Okay,
I feel like Joe Pesci is just that guy in real life.
Yeah, I could see that though too. Yeah.
Okay, so another thing, this is what really, really, like I was already following your work, but when you posted that you met John Waters, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
We've got to talk about that experience for a second.
Oh, it was awesome. It was like a dream come true for me because I love his work. And I mean, pretty much anything the man touches is amazing, you know? And so I actually, I drew a picture of him that day just for my own thing, you know? I was like, well, maybe I'll sell it, maybe I'll keep it, whatever, you know? I was just excited. And then everybody was like, you have to try to give it to him. You have to give it to him. I'm like, I don't know if he's going to take it. Like, some people take that stuff and other people don't. And so when we went, it was awesome. And then he was doing a signing after, and we got all of the merch to do the signing because I wanted to try to meet him. And then I was like, yes, this is my opportunity. And I gave it to him, and his face, lit up, which made my whole life. You know, I was like, I could die happy tonight, you know, so.
The best thing is that who got the picture of you? Was it Craig?
Oh, it was actually just somebody taking pictures, like some person that was regulating the line.
Because as you wrote in the caption, they literally captured the moment when
it was so cool. I was like, yes, she's a great photographer. I was so stoked on it.
Oh my god, yeah, that's crazy. Like his work is amazing. One of my favorite things of his, though, is his book. He has multiple books, but the Role Models, is that what it's called?
Okay, I haven't read that one, actually. I'm just starting to dive into his books, to be honest with you.
I think it's called Role Model. I could be wrong, but it's kind of the closest thing to an autobiography that he has.
Okay, right.
You know what? I have a book of his that I haven't, that I started reading a long time ago, and I guarantee you I'm not going to finish, so I'll just give it to you before you leave.
Oh, that's so nice.
Called, I have it over there on the shelf. But his book, Role Models. And so this isn't the one that I have, unfortunately. But, yeah, it's kind of this really interesting autobiography where he talks a lot about, you know, stealing records when he was a kid and kind of growing up and being on drugs and all the kind of cool stuff. But it also talks a lot about him interviewing and wanting to interview all the people he looked up to and how psychotic so many of them are.
Cool, yeah.
It's really, really interesting. He reads the audiobook, and I would go to sleep to the audiobook all the time.
Yeah.
It was just so cool.
That's
so
awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. Well, and listening to the audiobook, if he was doing that must have been cool too. So I dig his voice. His voice is pretty cool.
It's great.
Yeah. It's cool.
It's so good. Yeah, man, because I was really, really into anything shocking when I was growing up.
Totally.
As a teenager. Originally it started with Eminem when I was in 5th grade.
Okay.
And then it became Marilyn Manson, and I just wanted to find anything that could be shocking. And then I got a little bit more tasteful, or distasteful, I guess. And I found John Waters, and
cool.
I think the first movie of his that I saw was probably Pink Flamingos.
Yeah.
And then I just fell so deeply into the whole dreamland
Totally. Thing. It's a rabbit hole. Once you start going down it, you can't come back. That's it, you know. And it's a cool ride though, for sure. Yeah, I can agree though. When I was I think I was 14, my stepmom showed me Rocky Horror Picture Show, and that's what started all the crazy cult whatever shit, you know. And so that's kind of what did it for me. And then I found John Waters a little bit later on, and I don't remember what the first John Waters movie I watched was. I'm not really sure right now. It might have been Hairspray, which is a sad one to say would be the
you know
first,
what though? That's not bad. It's a great movie.
It's a great movie, but it just doesn't feel super John Waters-y, you know? But it's his wholesome family movie.
It is,
you know?
yeah. Okay, no, I remember now. The first John Waters movie I saw was Cry Baby, but I didn't know So I watched it as a teenager, not knowing who John Waters was, not having any kind of background or setup on it whatsoever. So I was just like, dude, this movie fucking sucks. Like, I remember watching it and being like, I thought Johnny Depp could make anything work. His acting is terrible. These lines are awful. I just don't get why this movie is. This movie is not good.
Totally.
And then I understood. And then I got John Waters way later, and I was like, oh, this totally makes sense now. This movie's awesome.
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely an acquired taste. John Waters I think it's not for everybody instantly, I think,
Definitely.
so sometimes it takes a little easing into.
Yeah, the first time I saw him, I think he had a part in Jackass 2.
Okay, yeah.
I think he pushes Johnny Knoxville down a flight of stairs in a hotel or something like that.
I'd have to rewatch it. I'm like, I could see it, yeah.
But and then I remember going on Pirate Bay and trying to find Roman candles and like hanging a black leather jacket and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, totally. That's awesome.
So you were talking about how you got into Rocky Horror Picture Show. Is that kind of so? When I think of you and I think of your art and I think of your aesthetic, I immediately just think kind of this anachronistic 50s kind of 60s inspired like rebel thing.
Cool,
like,
thank you.
Where did that come from? Because it seems to be all over your artwork.
Yeah, I mean,
is that time period right? Is that about the? I don't know.
Yeah,
what
I would say so. I mean, I don't intentionally do it. I think it just kind of somewhat comes out naturally, but. I do think a lot of it, I don't know. I don't really know how to pinpoint exactly where it started. I mean, my dad's kind of a weirdo. And so I grew up like, I have siblings, but I grew up like an only kid. So my dad was like my best friend and my dad, so he would show me a bunch of different cool stuff, So he raised me on like Alice Cooper and like B-52s and Oingo Boingo, stuff like that. So
Oingo Boingo is so amazing.
They're so cool, yeah. And so like that's what I grew up listening to, and I think I was either 9 or 10 when I wanted to watch Nightmare on Elm Street for the first time, and he didn't really censor much, so he was like, yeah, okay, whatever, we can watch it, like that's cool. And I think just like he kind of started showing me all the weirdo stuff really young, and then it just kind of blossomed and developed on its own. And I think also I grew up around my grandparents a lot because it was just me and my dad, and my grandma would take me thrifting and things like that, and I always grew up around more vintage stuff. And so I think that kind of somewhat translates in a way that's just in the back of my head. It's not like an intentional thing usually, So I think that's kind of where it comes from.
Got it. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very like, like with the cat's eye sunglasses and stuff like that. Like I immediately just think of like kind of older aesthetic.
Yeah, I really dig that stuff quite a bit actually. Yeah, like and my grandparents on my mom's side, my mom was adopted when she was an infant, and they were 50 when they adopted her. And so they had a little bit of more vintage taste, I guess you could say too. So I think just like seeing all of that stuff and seeing like their wardrobe and things like that, I think that kind of all plays a part in it too. I don't know. I guess I really love that stuff because of it. But
do you have a way to describe your art to somebody if someone were to just like ask you kind of what kind of art you do? Like, do you have like a quippy little way that you describe it?
Yeah, I get kind of like, I don't want to say awkward when people ask me about it because I don't.
It's a weird question.
Yeah, I don't really know how to describe it. I guess I think it's like really a lot of it's like feminist based. A lot of it does. Like I say, kind of unknowingly play on, nostalgia and things like that. So I usually just say it's kind of, like feminist-based kind of culty art, I guess,
It's a weird question. It's like telling someone you're a comedian and the other person like, oh, cool, tell me a joke.
Yeah,
like, it's a weird
exactly.
question, but I thought I would ask it because I was thinking about it.
No, totally.
No, when I was going through your art, and anyone listening to this, you've got to go to her Instagram and obviously follow it and all that kind of stuff. But you need to find, it's way back in there. Like I dug through today to come up with questions, and there's one of, was it like, it was like, a pubic hair with a smiley face on her or something like that.
I forgot about that one. Yeah. No, yeah. Craig and I were watching Nymphomaniac. And
oh my God.
At one point I was like, does her cooch just look really sad to you? I was like, it looks so sad and like tired, and so that's why I made that piece, because I was just like, man, it looks pretty worn right now. She looks pretty worn down, So,
well, you know, I mean, Lars von Trier will do that to you, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's a pretty intense movie. It's pretty intense.
That's a two-parter, right?
It's a two-parter. Yeah.
I didn't catch that one.
Yeah, it's hard to get through.
Yeah.
Certain parts are like, all right, what the fuck am I watching? You know, but
yeah, I was at work and I saw that. I showed my coworker. I was like, "This girl's coming over today. This is awesome."
That's awesome.
We both thought it was funny. She was immediately just like, "Oh, me."
That's awesome.
So like, okay. One of my favorite things that you do, and I'm sure you get this all the time, is the confession series.
A lot of people really like those. Yeah.
Can you kind of explain real quick what that is for those who don't know?
Yeah, I haven't actually done one in a little while. I kind of just do it when something pops into my head about it. But I started doing it as like a really loose idea of like, well, I want these women to have these like bizarre, confessions in their head, like these secrets that they don't tell anybody else, that sort of thing. And then it kind of turned into more of a sexual thing for sure, because I hate the stereotype that women are either prudes or they're sluts, and there's no in between, and there's no like, every woman is different. And I think that's really part of it, is that the confession series kind of addresses the fact that any woman should be able to be as sexual or as not sexual as they want to be, So I think that's really kind of where that comes from. But yeah, I dig that series a lot. Some people find it too vulgar, but I dig it.
Love it. It is true though. Like every person, every human being has something like that, or has multiple things like that in their heads, or many things that they enjoy they wouldn't necessarily want to talk about or even think about themselves often at times. And it seems to me extremely important that you would want to put it out there on Front Street with women in particular, because they are kind of still to this day very much, like you said, like in a box where they have to be this certain way. They have to be the way that we think that they are, and that's
totally, yeah.
So I thought it was really cool, and it's interesting. And I have a thing for vulgarity anyway, so I definitely thought they were funny and really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are super cool. I remember going through the comments, and someone asked, where do these come from? Are these your confessions? Are these confessions that of people you've known? And I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. Someone asked this question. I was about to ask the same thing.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think I've addressed it there was one confession that I think I addressed it in, but I don't know, for a while, I guess there's so much judgment behind it that I was like, do I want to open myself up to all these trolls and whatever, But at some point, since so many people asked me about it, and a lot of people have asked if they're for sale and everything too, but I kind of like hoard them. They're like my babies, And so, a lot of people have asked about them. So in a post, I was just like, I might as well just like express some of this and like kind of give insight, and hopefully that kind of almost gets people behind it more, I guess. But yeah, so I don't know. I guess I haven't been super vocal about it, but yeah.
That insight being
that, I think that, like I say, it's, that you can be as sexual or not sexual as you want to be as a woman, or anybody really. It doesn't really
Are those like from your imagination or?
Some of them are things I don't know why, but I have a certain personality where I feel like a lot of people will just tell me things that I feel like they probably shouldn't tell me. I'm like, we don't know each other that well. But yeah, thank you. But I'm like, we don't know each other that well, and you're telling me these things, and I'll clarify. I don't tell anything. I don't write anything on there that's super personal that somebody's told me. But it's like jokes that people have made and things like that. And and some of it's from my own head too. I'm like, oh, that would be, funny but insightful in some sort of way as well. So some of it I make up. Some of it are like, jokes that I've shared with people and things like that.
Got it.
Yeah.
It's very cool. Very cool. So now, Lucy the She-Devil.
Lucy the She-Devil
seems to be almost like a logo for you at this point. Like, she's all over the place.
Yeah, she's all over the place. I'm trying to figure out how to kind of blend her in with my jewelry too, because she's kind of my mascot at this point. Yeah, she's it started off, I drew, my first She-Devil I ever drew, I think was in 2015, I think. I'd have to look. But yeah, so after that, it kind of became like it took on its own like life form, I think. And yeah, so it's it's kind of like a lot of those thoughts that Lucy the She-Devil have are my thoughts.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, so she kind of represents me in some sort of way, which it didn't start like that at all, but it just kind of ended up being like I started drawing myself with different thoughts. And then people seemed to really like that, but I was like, I don't want to always draw myself, and so I started kind of putting a face with it and having, Lucy the She-Devil be kind of a representative of my thoughts. So
got it. Yeah, I was going to ask that as well. It seems like those are the thoughts that to me seem the most just like these are my opinions coming out. It seems very clear that it's you talking.
Totally. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, because I don't know, like there's a lot that I think about, and I'm slightly neurotic by nature, and so when I have kind of like a face to put with it, I think it kind of helps me get those thoughts out there too. It's like, but a lot of people, I don't think anybody's really ever asked me about where do Lucy's thoughts come from. It's just kind of like an unspoken thing, But.
Got it. So let's go pre-social media, because I mean your Instagram at least cuts out at like what 2015 or 2014 or something like that.
Yeah.
So before social media, where were you as far as art goes? Were you selling art still, or?
Well, kind of yes, kind of no. So my first like ever sale for art that I did was through Facebook actually, and Craig and I would draw just like in our apartment, like on our own, and he was always like super encouraging because I've always really liked to draw. I like to write, I like to do more creative things, I guess. And so he was always really encouraging, oh, we should draw more, And at one point I just kind of like started drawing and having like these mixed media girls with like banners and thoughts and, sayings and things like that. And I framed them all. And I was like, you know what, like I have so many of these, I might as well just try to sell them, And so I sold them on Facebook, and people, like, they sold out so quickly. And so that kind of gave me a little, like, boost of energy for it, I think, But that's kind of where the art started in terms of, like, selling it and things like that.
Got it.
Yeah.
Now, I remember you complaining on your Instagram story during tax time.
Oh, yeah.
Because being self-employed, you get crazy tax,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So what were you, now before you were self-employed, what kind of jobs were you working?
A bunch of just random things. I've done everything from like I worked at Buffalo Exchange for like a year.
Nice. I
worked
can see
at
that.
Yeah, it was kind of fun. I worked at a record store. I worked at
one in here. Was it one here in town?
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
one?
Zia up on Thunderbird and like 19th Avenue or something like that, or something like that. Yeah. I did nannying for a while, which was nannying. I was a nanny.
Got
which
it.
was really weird. But I wanted to do something different that I've never done before, and I hate having a uniform. I really don't do well with like bosses and things like that. And I was like, you know what? Like, I'm going to try something totally different. And so I started nannying, and that was fun for a while. Like, half the families that I worked for were amazing, and then the other half were just nightmares. So eventually I was just like, I can't do this anymore, and Craig and I kind of came up with like our own little like plan where I would work as a nanny and I would kind of pay for everything, rent and stuff, and he would work on his art. And then once he got momentum going and he was able to cover everything, we'd switch roles. And so that's kind of what we ended up doing. So then one of the the last real job that I had was a nanny job.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it's been fun. It's been cool.
That's awesome. I'm so and he's also a phenomenal artist. Like,
he's
in his
pretty
own
crazy.
Right.
Yeah, he's
like,
pretty crazy for sure.
Because I remember looking at your page and saying like, oh my god, she has X amount of followers. This is crazy. She's like super popular and doing really well. And then I was like, oh, I wonder what her boyfriend's like. And I jumped over to his page and it was like, holy shit, a bunch of really popular as well.
Yeah, it's like nuts. It's nuts. People go crazy over his stuff, which is rightfully so. I love his work a lot. But yeah, his stuff is nuts.
It's cool. Sure. It's just like you guys seem like an artistic powerhouse.
Oh, thank you. Thanks. Yeah, I think we I don't know. I think like with couples, you kind of grow together, or you grow apart. And I think we are fortunate enough to grow together. And we work on it, obviously, like relationships are hard work. But I think, with our art and everything, it makes it a lot easier to grow together too,
totally.
So
I like that in all of your pictures together. Like, guys, this looks such a creep. But like in the pictures that you posted, you guys were both always like smiling and look like you're enjoying each other.
Yeah.
And it made me think of, have you seen Fargo?
Yes, I love
Totally,
Fargo.
it makes me think of was it Norm
Yeah.
and Margie, how they're both just like so ridiculously sweetly like slap happy together all the time.
Well, thank you.
Love that.
Yeah.
I don't know why, for some reason that popped into my head today.
Yeah.
Where I was like,
I dig that. Yeah.
oh, Norm. Fucking love that movie.
It's a great movie.
That's one of those movies too that like some people just don't get it, and that's totally cool. But
Yeah.
it's like,
Some people hate it. Like I feel like there's no middle ground, and there's
No.
nobody that's like, oh, like Fargo's like okay. People are like, I fucking love that movie, or that movie's so fucking weird. I hate that movie. It's like I don't know how you can dislike it, but that's just me, you know.
I know.
But yeah.
I love it. Just funny looking.
Yeah.
In the general sort of way. Oh, it's so great. I remember I showed my girlfriend before we even watched the movie. I was getting her hyped up to watch it, and I just like found just clips of just random dialogue of people talking to each other, or like the guy when he's shoveling snow and he's just like speaking nonsense.
Yeah.
About like, nothing. So that's what happened.
That's awesome.
Yeah, fantastic. I watched that when I was way too young, and that wood chipper scene was like, this is the best. This
Yeah.
is so metal.
It changes you forever. Yeah. That's how I felt about Nightmare on Elm Street when Johnny Depp gets sucked into the
Yeah.
bed and all the blood comes out. I'm like, this is so fucking cool. I was like, thank you, Dad, for letting me watch this. This rules, you know?
My parents always had this really cool cabinet of DVDs that I wasn't allowed to watch. And then one
Okay.
day in junior high, I stayed home. I came home sick from school, and I was just like home alone for hours and hours. So which never happens because both my parents would work while I was at school. So I just raided their cabinet, and I think I was homesick for maybe 1 or 2 days. And for those 2 days, I watched Fargo, Pulp Fiction, Goodfellas, Blow, and Reservoir Dogs.
They're all
in,
really
like,
good.
And my whole life changed.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, everything changed.
Totally, yeah. I totally
Like,
get that.
Oh my God, it was crazy.
Yeah.
Like from that point on, being a filmmaker was all I wanted to do. From then on, like, it was crazy.
Super cool, yeah.
And then so now how did you and Craig meet?
So we've been together for like 6.5 years now, and we met because a lot of people will ask us, were you guys together before Instagram's? Like, yes, we were, before we ever used it or knew what it was, but there was actually like a show that we went to in Tempe, and neither of us like super wanted to be at the show. It was not really something that we wanted to do, but our mutual friends kind of dragged us there. And so we were standing outside the show because it wasn't that exciting of a show. And we just started talking and kind of hit it off. And then I went to Germany for like 3 months to visit my family. And when I came back, like the day after I came back, he was like, hey, are you back from Germany yet? And I was like, actually, yeah, I am. Like, let's hang out, So yeah, we hung out. And then since then, we've been pretty inseparable.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's super cool.
It's been cool, yeah.
So what was that trip like?
The one to Germany?
Yeah.
Interesting. But no, I've been going to Germany somewhat of every year. I mean, not with an exception of the last few years. I've been going like once a year since I was like 9 because my mom lives there and my siblings live there. Other than I have one sister that lives here, but we're 10 years apart, and she lives with her mom. So growing up, we'd only see each other like every other weekend or so. So yeah, so going to Germany was kind of like it's always just been kind of like, I guess, somewhat normal for me at a certain point, But yeah.
See, I'm super jealous. I've never been out of the country before. Next year, we're gonna go like on a 1 to 2 month backpacking trip throughout Europe.
Cool,
so
yeah.
I'm super excited to just go from never leaving the country to spending 2 months walking around.
Super
like,
cool.
Europe, so we'll see how that goes.
Totally.
But Germany is definitely one of the places that I want to hit.
Yeah.
It's like super on my list.
You got to check it out, especially because they've got like, I mean, if you're not vegetarian or anything, they've got like great like meat and breads and cheeses. And I know that sounds really lame, but the food is amazing. So it's definitely a place to check out for sure.
And I'm not super hot on the idea of going to Paris, but I really want to go to the catacombs.
Okay,
like,
yeah.
Super bad.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Speaking of traveling, you went to Salvation Mountain.
I did, yes. I think it was a couple of years ago now.
Did you spend any time? Did you go further out? Did you go to like Slab City?
Well, you have to kind of like start driving into Slab City for Salvation Mountain. We didn't go any further though. We had our dog with us at the time. That was like his first major road trip that kind of like scarred him. Now he hates the car like so much. So we weren't there probably as long as we wanted to be, but yeah, it was super cool because I read Into the Wild when I was pretty young. And then after that, it was like, I have to go, And so when we ended up going, it was like a dream come true for me. It's, like standing in front of this like amazing creation, even though like I'm not a religious person, but it was just beautiful. All of the time and effort and love that went into this just amazing creation. It was super surreal and really cool. So
yeah, that's exactly how I felt too. It's amazing the impact that something that on the surface looks like it's so absurdly religious, almost like it's so in your face. Like,
totally.
But when you see it and when you're there, you realize that it's so much more than that.
Yeah, for sure.
It's crazy.
For sure, and especially being like, in Slab City where there's so much craziness like already going on there. All of the people there are, interesting folk. And so, it's kind of interesting to see a different walk of life and then go see this beautiful thing in the middle of nowhere sort of thing. It's crazy. It really is.
Yeah, Slab City was nuts. I've been there a couple times. The band that I was in actually played a show there, which was like wild.
Yeah, I could imagine.
Like being there at night was so cool. And the craziest thing about it though was that there's families that live there, and there's children there who have been raised there, and they're like you look at them, and behind all of the muck and the dirt and the grease and all that stuff, they're just like normal looking like beautiful kids.
Totally.
They're not mutants.
Right.
Like they're like really sweet, but they're all like blonde dreadlocked hair and stuff. And
totally. It's a different way of life.
Yeah, and they're all just like beating the shit out of each other.
Yeah.
But having like the best time. It's kind of like when you're a kid and you roughhouse, you have an adult that's like tells you to stop before you hurt somebody.
Totally.
And they just like don't have anybody telling them to stop. So it's just like Lord of the Flies beating the shit out of each other. And they were having the best time ever. It was so fun. They were making food and stuff, and that trip was so crazy.
Yeah.
Like, the Slabs is a really interesting place.
Oh, totally.
Just like being up on like that stage outside was like the coolest. Like, oh my God, I cannot believe this is happening.
Yeah, that must have been pretty weird.
It was
weird experience. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I love the people at the Slabs. Don't take their presents though. That's the thing. They'll try to get you to stay to party with them.
Yeah.
And they're wonderful, but take the packages home with you.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had a phenomenal time with that. So this show generally like caters to music as well.
Cool.
A lot of stuff. Like
totally.
that's kind of like the main thing I usually have like bands and stuff like that on.
Yeah, I've noticed that on your page.
So like, is there any like kind of specific types of music that you're really passionate about?
I don't know. That's.
I know it's a ridiculously broad question.
Oh, it's okay. I don't know. It's a hard question, I guess, to answer. I think, like I said, like with my dad kind of showing me kind of more weirdo stuff when I was younger, it kind of like blossomed into something a little bit like I like more obscure stuff than even my dad does. But, I think I was also, once again, like 14, and my uncle, who I'm close with, he gave me a mix CD, and that had like, well, I had already listened to the Ramones, but it had like the Ramones and the Dead Kennedys, and it had like all sorts of really cool stuff. The Slits, and that's when I discovered the Slits. My uncle's super, super cool guy. He like lived off the land as much as he could for most of my life, and he likes really weirdo shit and just like showed all of it to me because I like that stuff. So I think a lot of it for me is like a lot of like, I guess, punk stuff, rock and roll. Like I really like feminist-based punk, so stuff like that, like Bikini Kill and the Slits and Patti Smith. Like when I started listening to them when I was 14, 15 years old, it changed my entire life, and so it's like, wow, this is like what I'm feeling, right here, and that's really cool. So I think that's a large part of my interest for sure.
That makes sense. Yeah, I like your I like what you did. You did a picture of Ian MacKaye and Henry Rollins. That was super cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I was really stoked on those. Like, I actually had a really good reaction to those too, so that made me happy. But
Yeah. Henry Rollins is like one of my like biggest all time like hero dudes.
yeah, he's super cool. We actually saw him speak. I don't know even how long ago it was now. Maybe like a year ago now or something. Did you go to that?
I didn't go to that, but I know what you're talking about. That it was Crescent Ballroom, right? Was that
no,
what
it was in Scottsdale. It was at the Scottsdale. I forget
Oh,
what
it
it's
was like an
called.
art center or whatever.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I remember when that happened. I didn't go. I
Yeah.
couldn't go to that, but I remember because there was like I think he did 2 dates. He did one there that we couldn't go to because of there was like a timing thing that was wrong.
Yeah.
And then he did another one, but it was like 21 and over.
Oh,
and my
okay.
girlfriend hadn't turned 21 yet. She was like
Okay.
20. So I was like, I'm not gonna go without you.
Yeah.
So it just like didn't work out. But yeah, I've been a huge fan of his forever.
Totally. Yeah. When we saw him speak, I was like, it was once again kind of like the John Waters thing. I was freaking out more about the John Waters thing because I actually got to
Totally.
like meet him and like sit next to him and stuff, for a split second. But yeah, with the Henry Rollins, like it was just really cool, and his energy is like just something that's like hard to describe, but it was really surreal seeing him speak and kind of like hearing the different things that he talks about and, his history of how he got to where he's at now and everything. So yeah, I agree. Big idol. Super
Yeah,
cool.
it's wild. Do you follow the Hard Times?
I do.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
it's the best thing ever. The first Hard Times article I ever read was new GPS feed. It's Henry Rollins as a voice feature on GPS, and
Okay.
it says Henry Rollins GPS voice feature tells you how hard it would have been to get there in the 80s.
Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah, I could see that for sure.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So one thing that we haven't really talked about at all is the jewelry making.
Yeah.
Where did that kind of start in conjunction to all this other stuff?
So it's been, has it been almost 2 years? That's kind of weird if it's been almost 2 years. I'm trying to think of the timeline in my own head. But so when I quit nannying to like kind of go out on my own, do my own art stuff, I started doing art full time, and I obviously really love it. But working with metal is something that I've always wanted to try, and I've never, really known quite how to get into it or anything. So I started doing research about like classes I could take in downtown Phoenix, and I ended up finding a studio, and I signed up for the class. And at first I was like really, really frustrated with it because I was like, oh, it's like riveting. It's just like, it's boring stuff that I didn't really want to do. I was like, I want to learn how to solder and like how to really put, ornate pieces together and whatever, And so once we started doing that, that's like, I like fell hard for it. Like, super cool to be able to make something out of basically nothing. You get a sheet of metal and, a couple wires and, whatnot, and then you make this beautiful, cool thing, And so that's kind of when that started. And now I'm kind of at the point where I want to blend my art and my jewelry. And so my art, I want to take it into mostly just like apparel and T-shirts, tote bags, things like that, and kind of combine it with my jewelry too.
That makes sense.
So yeah.
Yeah, your merch is legit.
Thank
It's
you.
super cool.
Thank
like,
you.
I like the Batwing. I don't know what's the name for
Thanks.
that piece.
Batty Babe. I had
Batty
to think
Babe,
about
yeah.
that for a second. Yeah. That was actually like a really big hit. I didn't expect it to be, but it was. Yeah. So I'm pretty stoked on that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, a lot of people ask about it, so maybe I'll do like a re-release at some point, but I'm not super sure about
you
it.
got to. You can't you can't say it was. You can't say something was a huge hit and then not.
Maybe I'll do something different. I'll put a different timestamp on it so then that, the other people that, I'll have them change something about it. So the people that have the original
There you
ones,
go.
then they feel like,
Do
special about it.
Do like an Andy Warhol invert or something
Yeah,
like that.
something. Yeah, I'll figure something out,
Totally.
Yeah. But.
Did you, so I was thinking about this too. How much did you love Death Proof when it came out?
Oh, I have mixed feelings on
Do you have
Death
mixed feelings?
Proof.
Okay,
Yeah.
this is why I wanted to know this because I
Yeah.
felt like I don't know.
Yeah, I like it. I think I like it probably more than the average person. A lot of like Quentin Tarantino fans are like, oh, I fucking hate that movie.
love that
Like
movie.
it's the worst Tarantino movie. Like I've heard people
Yeah.
say that stuff. It's like I don't hate it. I like it a lot actually. But that being said, it's my least favorite Quentin Tarantino movie. But that in no way, shape, or form makes it bad.
Totally.
You know what I mean? So I really dig it. It's just I like his other movies more.
So what about Death Proof makes you your least favorite?
I don't know. Like, I love, like, the, female power sort of stuff in it. Like, I really love that. I like certain things about it. Like, I like the shit list and stuff like that. There's, like, a lot that I really dig about it. It kind of has the shock factor in a lot of ways, which I like a lot. But I guess it's just not as, like, classic, I feel like, as, like, Pulp Fiction or Reservoir Dogs or, like, Kill Bill is just incredible, So it's hard because it's like, since it's from the same director, you compare it, even though it's completely different, So I think that's why it's just not, for me, as classic as his other movies.
See, I'm a weirdo because I've always had Jackie Brown in, like, the top 3.
Okay,
like,
that is
really
weird,
like
but yeah. But I respect it.
Then that's a response that I always get. There's something about that movie I just think is fantastic. It's an outlier too. It's definitely the one in his filmography that people have seen the least. Like, a lot of people don't know about that movie.
I'll be honest, I don't know if I've ever finished it because I literally always fall asleep.
Yeah,
like, I'm not joking.
Really
like
slow.
I always fall asleep. I'm like, oh, now it's the credits. How did when did I fall asleep?
Yeah.
So Craig's always like, we have to watch it when you're not tired. Because I don't think I've ever finished the whole thing. So
yeah, I have a thing for, like, 70s blaxploitation movies.
Okay.
And it's so his influence is so heavy in that, from
Totally.
the soundtrack to having Pam Grier be the lead character. It's so heavily influenced by that, and I think it's so cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was thinking about that today, and I was like, God, yeah, I do like Death Proof a lot, and the soundtrack to that movie is also fantastic.
The soundtrack, I can agree. Like, it's so good.
Like,
yeah.
Chick Habit is such a fucking amazing song.
Yeah, she's super great. Like, I feel like that song though is just like it will stick in your head forever. Like, it's not like any of her other work in so many ways. Like, I know like a lot of what she does is like covers and stuff, but it's still like the way she does it is so catchy. It's so good. I love that song.
I have to be honest, I don't know who it is that sings. I
It's
just know the song.
April March.
Okay.
And I'm not good with names, so I'm pretty proud of myself for remembering that. Yeah.
That's great. What is that tattoo? What is
Which
it?
one?
Marry you, baby?
This one.
Is that what
It says "I'll carry you, baby."
Carry you,
With a
baby.
Cupid. Yeah. There's a comic strip of Cupid carrying like a duck. And it was from, I want to say it was from like the 30s. And I wanted to get that as the tattoo, but it was so pixelated that I couldn't, like, Craig and I couldn't figure out like how to make it work. So Craig drew me up like a new Cupid that kind of had the same vibe. And in the comic, when she's carrying the duck, it says, "I'll carry you, baby." So I was like, I need to get that though. I love that so
cool.
much. Thanks.
That's super cool. Yeah. So I guess we kind of talked about it earlier, but what is it about vintage stuff that just has your heart so much?
Once again, it's like, it's kind of hard to super like pinpoint an exact time, but I do think like growing up around like both sets of grandparents all the time, like constantly being around my grandparents, I think that really helped fuel that. Like, my dad and I didn't have like a ton of money when I was growing up, so my grandma would take me to like, sorry, I'm like wrecking things over here. No, but my grandma would take me to like thrift stores, and that's where we'd get like a lot of my clothes, and we'd get books and things like that. I was a big bookworm, and so I think that's kind of what started like the thrifting for me, and kind of it's like a thrill every time you go thrifting or antiquing. What am I gonna find this time? Craig and I just like, we spend so much money on that shit, like it's not even funny. And so I think that's kind of where it started with me wanting vintage things, was just going with my grandma and like being around that all the time too. Like I say, both sets of grandparents had like vintage furniture and like, decor and stuff. So, well, vintage to me, not to them, but I think that's really kind of what started the whole thing for me, I think. But
So have you spent much time in Pomona, California?
No.
Okay. So Pomona, it's like not too far from LA. It's like in that little area.
Okay.
And it's a small little, kind of a small little community, and they have an entire strip of just antique stores. And one of them is 3 stories, or it's 2 stories and then a basement, but they're all huge.
Whoa.
And every little section is rented out by a certain dealer or a certain owner.
Yeah.
And Alicia and I just got lost in there. Like, you can walk around for hours and find all kinds of crazy stuff at really good prices and things like that. So yeah, if you're ever in like the LA area and you're bored, like Pomona has these crazy antique stores.
Cool.
It's off the chain.
We're gonna have to check it out, because every time we go to LA, like, I get like wildly disappointed, because in comparison to like Phoenix thrifting and antiquing, like, people are always surprised and they're like, there's like really good thrifting and antiquing here. It's like, fuck yeah. Like, there's so much good. Like, we could go like every day and find something that's like amazing for an amazing price, you know? And so every time we go to LA, like, I want to find like something super rad for like a decent price. And then we go and we're like so disappointed, because we're like, oh man, like, we didn't find anything, because it's so overly priced most of the time. So we'll definitely have to check that out.
Yeah, you have to go to the areas outside of like LA proper. I can't stand LA.
Yeah, it's pretty hectic. Like, I like to go for like a day.
Same. Yeah.
And then I'm like, it's too much. Like, the traffic is just so much in itself, you know. I like that Phoenix is like close enough to where you can go for a visit and you're not in it all the time.
Yeah, we've done it before where we went to see a show. Like, we went to see a show, he played, we left at 11, and we just came straight back home.
Yeah.
Like, it's, you can, with enough dedication, it's not hard to do that. We pull day trips, too, where we'll wake up really early in the morning, we'll go to, like, Coronado Island off San Diego.
Okay, yeah.
And we'll just hang out over there for the day and then drive back.
Yeah.
Like, it's super easy to do.
It's not that bad of a drive,
But, yeah, man, LA just, it's always oversaturated and expensive and just, like, it's never what I, like, when I was a kid. It's not what Guns N' Roses promised me, okay?
Yeah, totally. It's a little different. It's like, it's really dirty and it's like super overcrowded and everything. Like, there are things that I really like about it, but there's like a time limit on it for me, you know? And then I'm like, I don't want to be like right here. And like, because Craig's mom and his family live in Southern California. And so, you know, we'll go out there and we'll stay with them for a while. And sometimes we'll do like a day in LA. And I'm like, I'm done. After like a day, I'm like, let's go back to your mom's and just like hang out and like relax, you know, because it gets really stressful. It gets really stressful.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the outside, like I like Silver Lake a lot, like the whole Echo Park, Silver Lake area.
Yeah.
Like, I like that a lot. But yeah, I mean, I just feel like I'm there all the time, and it's like whatever. I San Diego's a little bit better though. I think San Diego's kind of cool.
I like San Diego. Yeah, my mom's side of the family has like a lot of that the side of the family. Sorry, I'm stumbling, but they live in San Diego, and so growing up. When my parents were still together, my mom would take us to San Diego and we'd go to the beach and stuff. And like my uncle lived down there, and it's always so pretty and it's like good weather and, you know, there's good places to eat and stuff. Like I like San Diego. It's neat.
So have you lived in Arizona your whole life?
Yeah, I have. We've kind of lived a little bit all over, you know, but yeah, I've been on the West Valley and up in North Phoenix, now Tempe, downtown, you know, all sorts of things. But
that's cool.
Yeah, it's been neat.
I'm still not used to the heat. I lived here since I was 15, and I'm still not.
Okay, yeah.
Every time is like the first time.
Yeah. It's rough. Like, I don't know. A lot of people are like, how do you deal with it? It's like, well, it's kind of like other people's winters. Like, you know, back east, like, when there's several feet of snow and you can't go anywhere, it's kind of like that. But in the summer, it's like you don't really want to go out. You know, you just kind of stay in the AC, you know. But a lot of my summers were spent in Germany, like visiting my mom and my siblings. So when I first kind of stopped doing the yearly trip, I struggled with it too. Like I get overheated really easily. That's why I like have water. Like I have this jar of water like everywhere that I go, you know. So I get it. Yeah. Totally.
So do you have any kind of upcoming projects or anything like that you're working on right now?
Kind of. So I re-released a lot of my made-to-order jewelry items. And so next what I want to do is kind of put out a little bit of like kind of like a small collection with some apparel and stuff that kind of goes together that can be kind of a cohesive line, I guess. So it's going to be a little bit of jewelry, a little bit of apparel, and I'm really excited about it. And I'll tell you that it's going to be Southwestern themed. So that cool. I'm excited about that. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool. So so you were talking about jewelry, kind of how you, when you first started it, but like, how is that evolution? Like, are you like way better at it now, more comfortable with it now than you were before?
I feel like I am. Yeah. Like when I first started, I do feel like it felt really natural to me when I started learning, like growing up with my dad, like, he's super handy. He's like a really great carpenter and everything. So I would always go to like side jobs with him and stuff. So, you know, everybody's like, oh, you know, you're so petite, but you like to work with tools and this and that, you know? And I'm like, yeah, well, when you grow up with a dad that's like, you know, hold this, saw this, no, don't move, you know, it's like, oh, okay, like, you know, you kind of get the hang of it kind of easy.
They're saying all that stuff to you and the slits are burning in your brain.
Yeah, that's the thing is like, you know, I kind of grew up around like tools and things like that. So I think that's part of why it felt really natural to me when I first started. But I definitely feel like practice has like made me infinitely better at the craft. So each piece that I make, I'm like, okay, well, how could I do this differently? Or, you know, I see the improvements, and that's pretty cool in itself. So
how can people find you?
Instagram,
that's the main spot.
That's the main spot. I don't really do anything else because, like I said, I'm not very tech savvy. So I'm always like, how the fuck do people use Twitter? Like, what is that? I'm like, I don't even know. Like, can you post pictures on there? Is it like, I get so confused. Yeah. So definitely Instagram, just Bridget Lang. And yeah, I dropped all the other, like, you know, kind of like company name type of things and just went with my name. So.
Did you have like other aliases before this?
I did. When I was just doing like art and things like that, it was total garb. And then I started doing jewelry, and then I made it Rough Rebel. And then I was like, what am I doing? Like, this is so confusing and weird. And I'm like, I just want to be known for my name. Like, that's the only name that matters, you know? And so I just changed it to Bridget Lang, and it's so much easier now. It's like, you know, the jewelry I put out, the art that I put out, the apparel that I put out, it's mine. So, yeah, I'm much more comfortable with it. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I'm excited for everything that's coming down the line for you.
Thanks.
Excited that taxes are over and that was stressing you out.
Oh, my God. Yeah, that was terrible. I was, like, I was not prepared exactly for it, you know, and then I'm like, oh shit, now I owe money and this sucks, you know, so I did like a sale on my,
yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, because I was like, I don't even want to think about this, you know, so the IRS kind of stinks.
Just kind of had to like Nicolas Cage it, just like sell all your shit.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah, it's pretty much, just take all of it, I don't care, give it to me for a penny, so yeah.
No, I got you. But that's awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show and hanging out and talking.
Yeah, of course, thanks for having
fun.
me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, guys, you already know everything about what I got going on, but yeah, obviously Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that kind of. I do use Twitter badly every once in a while. So yeah, podcast episode every single Monday and acoustic sessions every single Wednesday. On the YouTube channel for the Good Dog Sessions, which people show up and play music for my dog.
How
basically.
cute!
It's basically what that is.
She's very cute,
yeah, she's
too.
Awesome.
She's a cute dog. Yeah.
All right, well, thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you, Bridget, for coming over and doing this.
Thank you for having me.
All right, get stoked. Aw, shit, look at that. The episode's over, man. We're done. Episode is finished. Luckily, though, there are plenty of other older episodes hanging around the internet anywhere you'd like to find podcasts. iTunes, podcast apps like Stitcher or Podcast Addict for either the iPhone or the Android. My official Podbean website. I'm fucking everywhere, man. I'm building an empire. Let's take over the fucking world. Anyway, if you've made it this far, I truly appreciate you and encourage you to please reach out and say hello. I'm serious about this, guys. I really want to connect with my listeners. So whether you want to come on the show or not, drop me a line. Hit me an email at gettingstokedpodcast@gmail.com, or you can hit me up on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I think that's it, man. Thank you guys so much for listening. It really, I know I harp on it so much, but it really, truly means everything. So thank you. Get stoked.